Right, going live, going live. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our podcast, Modeling Success Successfully. I'm your host, Gorma Guitar. Today we have not one, but two great guests who both of them are returning. And it goes to show you how good the first time around was that we're having them back the second time. We have David Senteno from David Senteno Photography, plus
Hi
business
guys.
social management, as well as JT from investments and refreshments. Let's bring them in. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good.
I'm doing well.
Very
Thanks for
good,
having me
very good.
back.
Of course, happy Sunday, everybody. And I want to thank you right off the bat for making this happen on a short notice. I really, really appreciate you guys. So I want to dive right into the podcast. Unless you guys have anything else you have in mind, if you want to start off and let people know if you guys have any updates, you guys can go ahead and take the time. If not, we can open up the topic and take it from there.
Actually, I do have one thing
Please go
I'd
ahead.
like to mention before we start. I just want to point out that it is May and it is Mental Health Awareness Month. I just want to make sure that everybody kind of pays attention to that. Mental health, especially after everything we went through with COVID. To me, it's a really big deal. It's important to encourage people to seek help and to maintain their mental health and have some mental health strategies. So I just wanted to mention that it is Mental Health Awareness Month and to keep that in mind.
That is amazing, David. Thank you so much for that.
is-
I really appreciate you for bringing the attention to mental awareness. And like last time we spoke, that is dear to my heart too. And I want to remind our viewers that we're shooting for June 27th. We'll see how it works out with everyone's schedule, but we're going to have a very special episode dedicated towards basically support mental awareness and overall community and how we can all be there for one another, support mental
On-
awareness on a level where we can see a lot of people when they hear support, they are automatically cringe back and they don't want to be there. You don't necessarily have to go out of your way to support anyone. You just simply can say hello, how are you, and smile and say have a good day. That itself is a support to someone. Not many people get even acknowledged these days. So get back to the topic, gentlemen. David, you brought up an amazing point last time. It actually raised my awareness, and I wanna pick up from there. And I got a really good feedback off of JT as well about the topic. And the topic was Halliburton money with the Bush family. If I believe you have more about that to say than both of us. If you wanna let us know a bit more about that. So Halliburton money, Bush family, where did that come from?
Well, I think, I don't know how many people are aware of the fact that the Cheneys, who was George Bush Jr.'s vice president, the Cheneys and the Bushes were heavily invested in Halliburton. And if I remember correctly, Dick Cheney himself was actually CEO of Halliburton. When 9/11 happened, Halliburton put in contracts for the bid for basically everything having to do with the supply chain for the U.S. military, and they were awarded those contracts. And of course, since Dick Cheney was CEO at one time, he had huge investment stock in that company. So any contracts that they would get would result in a financial bonus for him as well as the Bushes.
Very
And then
lucrative.
yes, and it wasn't just, everybody thought it was just transportation, but it wasn't. It was transportation. It was computers. It was food service. It was a tremendous amount. It was a majority amount of the services that were provided as we went overseas to start the war on terrorism. And I don't know if you guys were aware or not, but there were actually videos of computers that were shipped there to be used, provided by Halliburton. And because the software was outdated on those computers were actually thrown away in a big landfill type dump, and whole new computers were purchased through those contracts. So there was nothing wrong with the computers whatsoever. They were just discarded, and new computers were bought that actually had new software on them when the software could have just been updated.
And
So,
who was supporting all this financially? The family?
well, it's supported through basically they own stock in the company, and then the company made decisions on what was going to be
The
provided.
board, understood, yeah.
Exactly, but they actually benefited indirectly. They didn't make the decisions, but they benefited indirectly as major stockholders in that company, and that's why I brought up Halliburton. So all that money that they put in Halliburton made it available for them to buy up, which me and JT were talking about, was the fresh water. I just pulled my headphones. The fresh water land sources. So they're not actually buying the water services. They're buying up the land that has the fresh water on it.
In other words, they become landlords that position themselves to be the landlords.
Exactly. So they would actually own that water service. So if there's a shortage of fresh water and you own the water,
you control.
Exactly.
Wow. And the exact TJ, I'm so sorry. I keep TJ. I'm so sorry. JT.
No worries. Everyone
TJ.
does.
The reason
Everyone
I'm
does
saying
it.
TJ is because for 7 years I've been working with the guy TJ. So every second TJ. I'm used to saying TJ Monday through Friday. I'm sorry.
That's my evil twin.
Oh, gotcha. So on Sundays I switch it to JT. So it's a tongue twister for me, especially it being this my third language. So I apologize. JT, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so that's actually really interesting. I didn't really know whenever we were initially talking about this that was the angle that they were taking, and they were actually buying the land that the fresh water is on. That kind of changes things a little bit in my mind. That's actually a different strategy than I thought was being taken. I don't like that. I mean, I'm sure you guys don't either. That's not good.
Of course.
That's not a good thing that's happening. If that's going to be something that continues to happen, then that's obviously something that I'll try and keep my eye on and keep in mind moving forward when we're talking about, investing in fresh water. Again, the more I feel like we can perfect these kind of water purification and filtration systems to be able to take, water that's not necessarily like pure water, I feel like the better. And if we can utilize a lot of like glacier water and water from those types of sources, I'm not sure if they're trying to buy up the water that's, held and locked into these glaciers and ice caps, but that's interesting. I didn't know that, David.
Yeah, and I think the access to
that talks about that as well. Is there a documentary that talks about that?
There is. There's actually 3 that I watched as I was trying to trace the money from one point to another. And again, finances aren't my forte. I'm a photographer and videographer at heart, but being on the spectrum, I latch onto things and I want to know everything about them once I find something interesting. So I was really tracking the money and where it was going and why. That was my question, was why purchase that land? And then it kind of dawned on me. There was actually and you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember what country it was, where U.S. companies tried to privatize the water in a specific country. It was
Maybe
actually
India. They do a lot of
it
shady
was
stuff in Africa or India.
It was actually South America. It was in South America,
Gotcha.
and the citizens actually rose up and told them, no, we're not going to do this, because what happened was as soon as they privatized the water system, the cost of the water exponentially rose, and they literally came to the point of revolution to get it under control of their government again, as opposed to having it privatized.
Right, and making it for people.
Yeah. So I guess my thing was, with the way that I understood it all is I mean, our population is increasing. Demand for resources is increasing. It's not decreasing. And as our population increases, of course, the thing that the basic necessities of life, including water, then become very short. And if you start thinking of it that way, if you control one of the major resources, the thing that people need to live, food, water, air,
Monopoly.
then that's profit. And I don't begrudge anybody making a profit.
That's actually illegal. They made that illegal in America because that becomes a monopoly, and monopoly is illegal. You cannot have a monopoly on an industry or so to speak. Luckily, but that's what they say on the surface, but internally they're still a monopoly, like the tobacco industry. I'm intimately familiar with the tobacco
or
industry.
telecom.
Or telecom, I'm not
Telecom.
familiar. See, so there's a big monopolies going on that, and Uber was the one. Uber actually, to Yellow Cab was another monopoly. Uber was able to disrupt the industry, but definitely they're starting to make those illegal. And to your point, David, I'm noticing a lot of similarities to the moves Bill Gates is making with buying all those lands.
I was just looking into that. I don't know how familiar JT is with this, but he is buying.
Are you
a
JT?
No.
No,
Tell me
let's
what's
do
happening with
this.
Bill Gates.
Let me see if I want to share a link to my computer so we can Google that and
Yeah.
read it to why. Plus, I actually have a surprise 2-minute video for all three of us to do a live reaction video on. We'll do that right after. And this is where Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger yesterday they had a live conference on Yahoo Finance, Yahoo Business Finance, I believe. And it's a 2-minute short video. I really want you guys' reaction on that too. We'll do that right after. But right now we were looking up Bill Gates buying land, and I want this link. Let's see how we're going to share this link. Share screen.
I could make some guesses as to what he could be doing with that land, but
Please go ahead.
I want to hear.
Please.
I want to hear first from you guys so that I can so that my guess doesn't just sound crazy.
Understood. Okay, here we go. Looks like I got it to work. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So let me go over here. Very good. So I'm going to just read it from it. Gladstone Land, another farmland REIT that owns 127 farms comprised of 94,000 acres, trades at an all-time high. Farmland. Bill Gates buys big on farmland shopping spree. Should we put a word "why" next to it so it can explain why? Some argue that Gates is buying up land to indulge in futuristic experiments in urban dwelling or the creation of new food. But the reason for the move may in fact be more prosaic. What does that word stand for? Prosaic. What does that mean, this word?
I believe prosaic means like more simplistic or old, like an old time meaning.
Gotcha.
In this instance, it's just as simple as something we would have done in the past.
Understood. It's a good investment with low volatility, not closely tied to the stock market, and can be deployed as an inflationary hedge. Well, go ahead, TJ. I want your opinion on this before we move forward. JT, go ahead, please.
Well, I do know that he's doing a lot and spending a lot of money on trying to create a better way to utilize nuclear energy. I know that he did kind of get stopped by the American government saying that he's not able to do it here. So he's trying to move to China and do it there. So I'm thinking he wouldn't be buying up farmland to do that. So I would say part of it could also just be as simple as I know that you guys had probably heard of like the farmland boom that happened in Nebraska a long time ago, where people were buying farmland for like huge premiums, way above what the farms were actually worth. And those that were able to get in early as the bubble was building, they were able to make a lot of money. And then after the bubble burst, many people and farmers were left holding the bag.
Mm-hmm.
And it could just be as simple as that he's trying to take advantage of an area that he knows is kind of going to be on the rise, and he wants to take advantage of that.
And would that area possibly be carbon? Because I hear a lot of I've been reading in articles where carbon is becoming more and more scarce, and they've found a way to extract carbon from the air, and so that's basically the article was describing the future big move is we're moving from tech into more of a see, this is a subject where I need to do more research on in order to explain. It's way above my pay grade to explain, but it's something they even had the machineries and images showing air passes through it and it extracts certain chemicals from the air, and wherever the extraction is going to become a high commodity in the near future. So he's positioning himself towards future commodity that is going to basically create. That's what that magazine was about, basically.
Interesting.
Well, I think that I agree with the article. I think it could be just as simple as, going back to, what's the basics of life, and, food, water, air. So, if you're buying up the farmland, you have more control over the food. And knowing Bill Gates and the things that he's involved in and what he likes to invest in, and I could see him buying up huge amounts of farmland and using that farmland as exactly that, as farmland, but also doing testing for increasing production in crops, genetically modifying the crops to be more nutritious. Everything towards benefiting human beings, but at the same time, putting some dollars in your pocket. I know there's I can't remember her name. I hate when I don't have the information, but there's actually one of the leaders in India that's actually moving against him buying up farmland in India because she's afraid of one person having control over major stocks of food production. And she's concerned about about him taking control over land, farming land that should be in the hands of local citizens or local communities. So, but I agree with that article. I think that it's probably simpler than that. I think it's really focused on the food, not necessarily on other technology. But I could be wrong.
You've touched up multiple topics. Me personally, just the topic of engineering new foods where it's going to be less harmful to our nature overall, the planet Earth. I think that's what is leaning towards, and that topic itself is very powerful because you're seeing a lot of foods, like for example, that intimidating in I forgot the name.
Oh, we lost Gore.
Oh no.
Oh, so JT, it looks like it's our life. What do you? I mean, do you lean
honestly,
more
what you were saying that made a lot of sense. I think that could be potentially, what he's looking at over here. I think initially he could have been buying a lot of land to, start building some nuclear facilities to try and start testing new ways to, because I know that he's just been pouring money into his nuclear projects, trying to figure out how to use nuclear waste and recycle it into more energy and dispose of it in a healthier way. But then he's been buying land since then because he wants to also help with food utilization, a better way to, manage crops and.
Welcome back, Gore.
Thank you very much. Gore. And over here, I was explaining the food that I was trying to see, and then I'm noticing that good thing I have another screen next to me that shows what the viewers are seeing, and I'm noticing, wait a minute, I'm not on the podcast. So what happened was I was trying to get the Charlie Munger link ready for our reaction video, and I accidentally closed our entire podcast broadcasting link. Yeah, that's what happens when you have like literally 40 tabs open. Sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulties. Are we ready for the reaction video of Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett?
Yes,
I'm ready.
Awesome. Let me go ahead and not close the link again this time and share it actually. Here we go. Share screen. Share screen. Chrome tab. Here we go. All right. Let's see. You guys can see it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me start it from the beginning. They get asked the question.
I can't hear it, Gore.
You cannot hear it.
I can't hear it.
What
JT,
about you,
can you hear it?
No, I can't hear it either. I wonder if there's a setting that you can...
I will remove the headphones. You guys should be able to hear it. Let me know if you can when I play it. Okay, let me try it now.
Now that the crypto market overall
works.
Yeah, I can hear it.
$1 trillion, do you
Very
still
good.
consider cryptos as worthless artificial gold?
I knew there'd be a question on Bitcoin or and I thought to myself, well, I watch these politicians dodge questions all the time, and I always find it kind of disgusting, but they do it. But the truth is, I'm going to dodge that question because we probably got hundreds of thousands of people watching this that own Bitcoin, and we probably got 2 people that are short. So we got a choice of making 400,000 people mad at us and unhappy, or making 2 people happy, and that's just a dumb equation. So I thought about we had a governor one time in Nebraska, and a long time ago, but he would get a tough question. What do you think about property taxes, or what should we do about schools? And he'd look right at the person. He'd say, "I'm all right on that one." He just walk off. Well, I'm all right on that one, and maybe we'll see how Charlie is.
All right.
Well,
I guess he didn't really answer
those
there.
who know me well are just waving the red flag of the bull. Of course, I hate the Bitcoin success, and I don't welcome a currency that's so useful to kidnappers and extortionists and so forth. Nor do I like just shuffling out a few extra billions and billions and billions of dollars to somebody who just invented a new financial product out of thin air. So I think I should say modestly that I think the whole damn development is disgusting and contrary to the interests of civilization. And I'll leave the criticism to others. I'm all right on that one.
All right, that was all, gentlemen.
That was good.
2 minutes. Yeah, so let's get back to our podcast and let me know what you guys think about that. You want to take it over?
I'm gonna let you answer first.
Go
I'll
ahead.
give my opinion.
Well, thanks for that, JT. I think it's tough. It's tough to say. I mean, you would think that these are 2 gentlemen that have built their finances on a specific way of life, and let's face it, people don't like change or new ways of thinking or doing things.
That's true.
But these are very intelligent men that have built their lives with the stock market and with finance. They are way more intelligent and knowledgeable than I'll probably ever be in my whole life about this. So I give them that respect. And as you know, we were talking about the whole Gary V NFT, which I still, before we go, I've got to tell you what my prediction is on that.
I'm looking forward to that too.
I think that the problem that I see with it, and something that they're not bringing up is that, and we've had this discussion privately, I believe, or was it? I think it was when JT was doing his live
podcast
with you on the podcast. Yeah, the problem is that people see money as actually having value, and money doesn't have value. It has the potential of value. It's a promissory note of value because it's a fiat currency now. It is not based off of a gold standard. There isn't a value of gold backing it.
Yep.
So
since 1971.
Exactly. So cryptocurrency at this point is the same thing. There's just not a dollar you're going to put in your wallet that is that promissory note. Your promissory Your promissory note is now digital rather than a tangible note. I think that, like with anything else, I think that it has potential. I think that it could well be what we're going to do in the future, and we could see that change. My caution when it comes to NFTs, cryptocurrency, is the fact that really they're putting the responsibility on you. Whereas right now, if you're doing money through the banking system, some of those funds are federally backed and guaranteed against stock market crashes or runs on the bank. So there is a level of safety and security with it. With cryptocurrency and with those types of transactions, the ownership and responsibility is on you, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But if you get locked out of your account, if your account gets somehow damaged and you can't get back into it, there is absolutely no way you're going to get that value back. I won't say money because it's not really money, but you won't get that value back. It is on you.
You're onto something there.
Yeah, and if you're not knowledgeable enough to know what you're doing, I would highly suggest doing the research before you deeply invest into anything at Coinbase, into Ethereum, into NFTs. You really need to be careful. And I think we saw this with the whole artwork boom, where people were spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cryptocurrency to buy widgets. And I mean, let's face it, they really don't have value, but they had inflated value because people were buying them up so quickly. But as far as it being valuable, is it really valuable in the long run? And through my experience looking into Gary's V55 announcement and wanting to and buy into Ethereum, there's so much money that you're going to be investing and spending in just a couple of transactions. I mean, Ethereum is at what right now, $2,500?
Since
$2,500.
No, my friend, since
$2,700,
we're at $2,950. Come on, don't come on, don't.
Well, no. That was the last time I looked.
I'm just kidding.
But then there's
really
also
bullish on it there. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. And again, I don't. It's like when there was when VHS, Beta, and Laserdisc came out. And there was this mad scramble of what we were going to use, and everybody's all, well, no, you go to the movies. You don't have a movie at home. And even though Beta was actually better than VHS, it was better quality, better audio quality, and less expensive than Laserdisc, and was a better home medium for everyone to use, it actually lost out to VHS that was a clunky, old-style ripoff of 8-track tape cartridges. But it was the most popular, so it took off and became basically the video coin of the realm at the time. And now, of course, stream is. So I see cryptocurrency as the trend, and it can take off, and it can be useful if used properly. My cautionary tale is really look into it, know what you're investing in, and what you're using. Understand that you are ultimately responsible. And don't forget that those transactions have gas fees, and they're transactional fees. The lingo that's tied to the phraseology that's tied to any Coinbase transaction can really become confusing if you're an older person or someone that's not knowledgeable. Like someone my age really had to do research on just the phraseology of it, because I had no idea what all of that meant when people were talking about gas fees. What's a gas fee? Well, it's a transaction fee that you're charged. And I think what are the transaction fees now? It can be as much as $500. Is that true?
It goes
It
by
depends on
percentages.
the overall amount of the transaction.
Of the transaction.
Definitely.
So those are just things. And like I said, I think it's just a cautionary tale, and that people should really look into it before investing, because ultimately they will be responsible for their investment. And there's no one to go to except themselves, because no one is guaranteeing that transaction. What do you think? What do you think, JT? Am I off on this, or?
I don't think that you're off. I do think that I differ a little bit as far as my opinion goes. First,
I
going
like
back
that
to the
because
video that we just watched. I was gonna say I think that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger are both brilliant. I think they're geniuses, to be honest. And they've got so many incredible videos. They've said so many incredible things, and I think that they're brilliant at what they do. I think that Warren Buffett was very smart in the way that he answered the question. You know, I'm good on this one. Like, move on from me, because I don't want to upset everyone with my opinion. And I think that that's great. I think it's important that everyone has different opinions on this. I think that they are looking at it from a different perspective. They see it only as a hold of wealth or an asset, and it's a little bit more than that. The blockchain has so many other use cases than just being a currency. So I think looking at it as just a currency is a little bit it's a little short-sighted in a way, because as we continue to see more and more breakthroughs with utilization of the blockchain,
it's too dismissive.
Exactly. And as we saw with the NFT boom, there's this hunger to buy art digitally that's not going to depreciate in quality. It will probably depreciate in value as the bubble kind of bursts, which we did see. But they're going to hold this art as the owner digitally forever, and it's never going to degrade in quality. It's not going to have the same, it's not going to degrade due to other elements in the same way that a baseball card would, for example.
Absolutely.
But I would say that the difference, I think, with paying gas fees to paying, for instance, like taxes on a dollar spent for sales tax and things like that, is that you know exactly where your gas fee is going. In most cases, it's going to the network. So the network needs to utilize these fees to continue taking care of the network, and also to pay the miners for us to be able to use the cryptocurrency.
Right.
With, taxes that you pay to a governing body, or to a, whenever you're paying fees to a corporation, whenever you're paying for payment processing, things like that, every time that you pay these fees, they'll go to a governing body, which is just not the case with decentralized currency.
Right. Very good. Very good. Those are great points, JT. Thank you for that. And before I give my reaction to the video, I wanna make this quick point on what David gave as far as starting to get into investing in cryptos. One thing that I can speak from my own personal experiences: if you're thinking of getting to invest into cryptos so you can do trading or any of that sort, it's my personal advice. So you can do whatever you want, but I would personally never do short-term tradings on cryptos. The fees you're going to pay, the fees I'm going to pay if I do short-term trading, is ridiculously stupid. It does not make sense. Yeah, even like you might say, oh, what if, let's say someone's saying I have $100,000, and if I get 10% within like a day, which is possible to do, that's $10,000 gains. So even if I pay a few $1,000s fees on that, it's worth it. Yes, it is, but those fees are not going to be a few thousand. There's going to be a lot more. And on
Yes, and
top of
also
that,
anytime you liquidate, you have to
Mhm.
pay short-term capital gains tax. if you're
Income
short-term
tax,
trading. Yeah.
exactly, because it is the crypto gains are considered income, so you have to
The
actually
security,
pay
yeah,
tax.
according to the government.
So that quick point on that, and my personal reaction to Warren Buffett's and Charlie Munger's answer towards what they think about Bitcoin being the uh, better version of assets holding, actually I think is very polished and very politically correct, because their entire portfolios are based on tangible assets, something you can touch, see, feel, track, and everything else. One thing that crypto is very attractive to the public is the fact that you cannot track it. And that's also the bittersweet part of the Bitcoin. And this is all my opinion. A lot of people see Bitcoin is number one, and Bitcoin, yes, I agree, it is number one. However, it is not private. If someone sent someone a few 100,000 Bitcoins, those numbers could be tracked towards the address receiving the Bitcoins, and God knows what's going to happen to the money, because there are many opportunistic people around the world. So that's right there is a massive security issue, which is why people don't really think Bitcoin is going to be number one for the future, and they think something else is going to replace something that's going to be more privatized and more secure. So for example, pirate chain is an up and coming crypto that what it does is it scrambles all the numbers together, and no one knows which wallet it goes to and how many coins go to. And itself, it offers, actually combined with decentralization itself, it offers a lot of security, and people find a lot of value in that, and they think this is going to replace Bitcoin. So I would ask you guys if you guys have heard about Pirate Chain.
I have actually heard some other people talking about Pirate Chain, but I haven't spent any time really looking into it and
This
digging
is super
into.
new for me too.
Yeah, I haven't done too much research into what it is. I'm also planning on taking a dive into BitTorrent tokens and seeing what those look like as well. BitTorrent's something that something I've used, and I feel like a lot of other people have as well. Just for my own, for using my own, using it for my own content consumption. I don't commercialize anything, but
Of course.
it is something that I have utilized, and I think that a lot of other people have as well. It's a decentralized platform where you can download different software and movies and TV shows, and it's completely free, and you can tip other users. You can like what other people. It's a cool thing that's been around for a very, very long time. And BitTorrent tokens, I think, is just, it's a cool way to use that platform to be able to provide some level of paying someone for the service that they're providing other users.
Understood.
Which I'm wondering if Pirate Chain could be something kind of similar, just based on the name itself.
How about we do this? How about we share the screen and we just do a quick Google search with a new tab? Let's go with share.
Yeah, because
and
I
the
don't
price
know.
is so attractive, guys. The price is ridiculously attractive. It went from multiple cents to $7 within recently, and it's expected to hit $50. So it's really doing a lot. Let's check it out. Pirate Chain, and the symbol is R. ARRR.
How fitting.
Right? It's this guy, R. Pirate Chain.
The most
Okay.
anonymous cryptocurrency.
Yeah, that's their entire positioning. That's how they want to kick Bitcoin's butt. That's their position. Pirate chain, what is that? The most anonymous cryptocurrency, a truly private, decentralized blockchain. What is pirate? A true privacy coin that takes financial privacy seriously. Pirate Chain ARRR is a 100% private cent cryptocurrency. It uses a privacy protocol that cannot be compromised by other users' activity on the network. Most privacy coins are riddled with holes created by optional privacy. Pirate Chain uses, is that 2K or ZK?
ZK.
Pirate Chain uses ZK sharks to shield 100% of the peer-to-peer transactions on the blockchain, making for highly anonymous and private transactions. Are you guys familiar with ZK snarks term?
No.
Neither am I.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not familiar with private chain either.
It might be an encryption protocol.
Understood. So that's basically what I was trying to describe. It scrambles the numbers. You don't know who sent who how much.
Right. But I mean, and this, in the world that we live in today, as we know, everything we think is private is not.
So true. So true.
I mean, it's not. I don't care if it's encrypted. If it's encrypted, that's fine. I don't believe that anything I do is private anymore. At least anything internet based.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, now that I have I have Alexa throughout the house. Anything I do in private isn't private anymore either.
Nope.
So yeah, to me, saying that it's private, it may be private to a peer-to-peer. I'm sure Gore, you probably couldn't see what I'm doing. JT couldn't see what I'm doing, but I can tell you right now, the United States government sees everything that we're doing.
Agreed.
Whether we know it or not.
And honestly, I'm glad. Simply because we're living in the best country in the world. If they were about to do the stuff that was gonna be bad, I think we wouldn't have said that we're living in the best country in the world. If they don't do it, someone else is gonna do it in a bad way and use it against, I think, humanity. So I'd rather have it under good people's hands so they can have control of it. That's my personal opinion. Of course.
I mean, the reason behind the government, watching a lot of what we're doing, it has a lot of good reasoning for that. It's national security. There are a lot of people who talk about, creating things that will hurt a lot of people. And it's important that the government is able to track those people and make sure that any transaction that is created in order to buy something that could be used as a weapon is watched, and that those types of people do wind up on a watch list and they do get targeted for surveillance. But I'll also say, to the point about Pirate Chain, is if it is completely private, if they do believe that the government is not going to be able to track transactions, the government will stop that. They will regulate that. Guaranteed. It will become illegal in the United States if they aren't able to figure out a way that to be able to trace these transactions.
Right.
But I think that we saw the same thing happen with Verge as well. XVG, it used to be considered like completely private, or one of the most private digital currencies as well, and it's gone through several stages of regulation, and a lot of older coins have seen that happen, especially the ones that a lot of their platform was based around how secure that they were, how private that they were.
Right. Similar to Pirate Chain, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd be careful if that's the primary reason that you're investing. But anytime that somebody's thinking about anytime that somebody's thinking about investing in something and they're excited and they're looking at the technicals and they're like, well, look how much that the graph has gone up. I'm like, well, if you want to invest, go ahead, but make sure that you only invest what you're willing to lose at that point, because who knows if you're already at the peak. If it's gone up recently parabolically, then
just like I did with AMC stock. I got it at 1360 and I'm still waiting for it to go up so I can sell it. It's stuck at $10.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah.
And I'll go back to my I'll show my age and go back to my VHS beta battle
Not at
for
all,
the
David. I grew up on VHSs. I still have my
Did you?
graduations and everything on VHSs.
Great. Well, I turned 59 next month. I turned 59, so I'm a little bit of an older generation, and having seen things come and go, I can tell you this much, as far as my beliefs, as far as blockchain and cryptocurrency. It won't really take off until you can make it easily accessible and usable by the masses. And that's
Yes.
why VHS took off. It was inexpensive and it was easy to use for the masses. And if you guys remember the first VHS machines, they were huge
Almost like
honking
a
machines.
washing machine.
Yeah, but they were easily accessible. They were cheap to manufacture, and so were the cassettes that were used. And that's what made it accessible, and that's why VHS took off way faster than Beta, because Beta was more expensive because it had better quality. Now, I see the same thing with cryptocurrency. I don't see just spending a whole week of trying to figure things out. I don't see the grocery store clerk that's just trying to pay for her single parent household and get her child to school every day. They're not going to have the time to go in and dig and figure things out. And it's got to be easily accessible and manageable for the masses before it'll actually really be ingrained in our society. Now, a generation could move away and the new generation can grow up using cryptocurrency, and it's just second nature, just like YouTube is for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's just second nature. It's, hey, I'm on YouTube, I'm on social media.
Mm-hmm.
But we've moved through that old generation.
Became the norm.
Yeah, my mom totally doesn't understand what I do. She can't wrap her mind around the fact that I do live video. I'm speaking to people across the country. JT, where do you live?
Texas.
Yeah.
I'm in California. Gore, you're in California, but Gore's 2.5, 3 hours away from me.
Right.
She can't wrap her mind around it. When I try to tell her, well, hey, I'm doing social media for a company, and I'm putting together these videos and these graphics, she has no idea. She gets lost. But my mom's 80, and right. I think that once you go through a generation that has lived with it every day, then it's not a learning curve. It's just the way things are. I think that's when cryptocurrency can really, really take off, and blockchain. But I do see the potential, because it isn't just, and I agree with JT, it's not just a value holding system. It's so much more. But you've got to get people to understand how it works and how deep the dive goes before you can really use its potential, and before it can really be something that is an everyday occurrence in our lifestyle. And that's just how I see it. That's just my opinion.
You're honestly, if I can, JT, if I could real quick make a point. I honestly agree with you, David. You made multiple points. Number one, currently at this stage, I think cryptocurrency is not easily understood as far as when you try to get information about it. And that's normal, because it's totally new. The more time passes, the more simplified it'll get. And like David said, the more people grow up with it, it becomes second nature. That this is true. If you want to fast forward that process, you need to make the learning curve more basic, more accessible, so you can get the masses adapted and start using it. And like you said, David, the second great point you made, just like the VHS tape transition happened simply because the masses adapted it. There is no way that the main masses, majority of the people, are going to adapt the cryptocurrency being at the current stage, because it's just too complicated to consume and understand and commit. But what's happening is, like this conversation, if we said 3-4 years ago, we would have been sitting at the NBC, CSBC studios and things like that right now, simply because back in the days we didn't know what the future was holding, specifically on the Ethereum. We couldn't talk about NFTs. We didn't even know what NFT is, or it could be possible. So just by NFT becoming part of reality, that's a simple but massive important step towards the right direction, where that masses now can at least put us, like, let's say, some portion of the masses can come in and create NFTs and actually get an actual value out of the cryptocurrency, other than being a place where you invest and try to make money out of it. So what to make my finish up my point is, I think what crypto market needs is making more options like NFTs or more NFTs, so it could be adapted by the masses. Once it's adapted, it's used, it'll be unstoppable, and I think Bitcoin will hit 1 million at that point. Go ahead, JT, please.
Yeah, no. I'm agreeing with both of what you guys are saying. I think that there are still multiple stages that you're going to see it go through, cryptocurrency go through, before we see mass adoption. First is accessibility, like you guys are speaking to. We need to make it easier for people to be able to utilize and also understand, because it is kind of there are a lot of ins and outs as to what cryptocurrency means, and actually being able to break down and digest all of the different use cases and reasoning behind what is happening in cryptocurrency right now. With NFTs, we're seeing all of these different ways that NFTs can be used. They come into many forms. It's not just artwork. We're seeing collectibles. You see NBA Top Shots. It's getting more and more popular. And speaking to using cryptocurrency as a way to hold value, people are buying Dogecoin right now because it seems accessible. People see Dogecoin, especially whenever it was at even lower than what it is now, at 10, 15 cents. And people are like, well, it just seems like a much easier thing to get into. I could buy, several hundred Dogecoin whenever I would be buying 0.000001 Bitcoin. So they feel like something like that is easier to actually see what you're investing in and what you're buying. But again, it's all speculative, and we're seeing kind of a frenzy right now of people that want to get involved so that they can get in early, when it's distinctly possible that they could have actually missed the boat. And who knows? But I'm not going to say whether or not it's a bad time to invest in Dogecoin. I don't honestly know whether Doge has stopped, or if it's going to continue rising from where it is at this very moment. But I will say that it's important to recognize all of the different use cases of the blockchain and what it is going to be used for in the very near future. You're seeing people discuss using it to be able to store people's, PHI and healthcare, to be able to create more security there, so that if somebody did hack into a hospital's database, that they wouldn't have access to everyone's,
that would be horrible.
Private records. And it does happen. It has happened, and it's important that we have better security in place, and the blockchain is a very easy way to set up better security protocol to keep things like that from happening in the future. I believe that blockchain technology will definitely be important for banking in the future. And going back to what we were talking about with Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, they were just discussing cryptocurrency as a way to hold value. And if you guys know about Warren Buffett, he's not a huge fan of gold in general. And I think he's seeing cryptocurrency as gold.
Digital gold.
Digital gold.
Yeah.
So that's why he's not a huge fan of cryptocurrency. I don't think that he's looking at it from the perspective that there are hundreds and thousands of ways that blockchain technology is going to revolutionize many industries.
This is true. Quick question, JT. You touched up on the topic blockchains. Would you please explain to our viewers what a blockchain is, the most simplest way possible, please, and what it does?
So a blockchain is actually a ledger system where it's each individual user who accesses a block in the chain. That saves as a transaction. So anyone that's interacting with this, it stores that information, and nothing can be hidden from the blockchain. The blockchain sees anything that interacts with it, and that can be I feel like that can be intimidating for people to know, but it's also important to know that since it's decentralized, the blockchain and the governing bodies within each blockchain, they can see the interactions, but it's to protect those people from someone hacking in and, you know, taking something from their block, etc.
Possible future threats.
Exactly. But in order to hack in and take what someone has in their crypto wallet, again, since each wallet is individually stored, you would have to hack into each one individually versus you hack into you saw it happen with Wells Fargo. You know, you hack in and you leak all of this information, and you
That's
have
a great
all
point you're
access
making.
to all of these bank accounts. And it's just obviously that was horrible what happened, and it happened several times. It happened with you've seen these things happen over and over again with these data breaches that have affected so many people. And what I'm excited about for the future of cryptocurrency or the future of blockchain technology is that I believe that that is going to help this sort of thing from happening in the future.
I believe so too. David, anything to add?
No, I'm ready. I think it's a perfect segue into the Gary V 5.5 announcement. Yeah,
Please
we're
go
talking
ahead.
about NFTs, and I'm not sure how many of the viewers have been paying attention or follow Gary V. I know JT and Gore do. Gary V's been announcing that he has a project that he's going to announce on 5.5, and has posted some clues on Twitter, on the messaging that he does to his community. And I picked up on a couple of them. They seem to be water-based. It was a shower head. It was a pitcher of water. And then one that stuck out in particular was him standing in front of a battery display. So I started doing research on what do those two things have in common. Again, I get very fixated on things when I find them interesting. And what I
because you're a prop person. When you see props, you're like, there's a reason there's
a reason why that's there. He was trying to say what he wanted to say without saying it. So my prediction is this. I believe that Gary Vaynerchuk is going to announce on 5.5 his saltwater battery storage company, and that it is going to have an IPO, and the IPO transactions can only be purchased using NFT contracts, which means you would need cryptocurrency in order to make those transactions.
So they would be like convertible shares, basically.
Exactly. All run as NFTs rather than as actual shares.
Genius.
So, and the other thing that flipped into my mind was that saying that I shared with Gore about how he said he was going to invent the next screwdriver and he was going to use it. Now, a lot of people are saying NFTs, he's going to have his own NFT. But I really went back and listened to what he was talking about, why he was excited about NFTs. And the way he was talking about how contracts can be built into the NFTs, and how there's more than just the transactional, hey, I'm going to buy a piece of art and now I own that art forever for how anybody's going to use it, and having a bigger vision for NFTs. So thinking about that and what could you do in a large way, because he's all about legacy. What legacy could you drive? Well, a legacy of a technology that is more environmentally safe, a technology that is driven towards renewable energy, which is what we're looking at in the future, and basing that IPO off of using NFTs rather than traditional. He is also driving the community towards and society towards using NFTs in the way that he has been describing them throughout the beginning, when he really got on that NFT bandwagon. So I think in many ways that makes sense to me, and specifically the saltwater based, because right now we're using lithium based batteries in vehicles, in storage in our cell phones. Yes,
which is super dangerous and explosive.
Yes, and because we started making more and more electric cars, There's because it's becoming more and more difficult to get the ingredients for the lithium ion, including cobalt. There's a limited amount. So as we're increasing production, we're looking at a limited amount. So I think that in particular, it's going to be storage. It's going to be water-based storage. There's a couple of different technologies, but there was one company in particular called Acurion that had a really good technology, but they struggled ever since 2017. But they have saltwater batteries that I believe the technology is ripe to run. And I think that those saltwater batteries are going to end up being tied to Elon Musk's company that uses home-based solar to store the energy, because right now solar doesn't make sense, because if you have no sun, you have no energy. So there had to have been a good, environmentally strong system of storage for solar, but you can also use it for the big solar power plants that we have now, with the fields that are full of solar panels. But I think that technology is right. I don't think we'll see it in vehicles or cell phones because it's too bulky, but it is renewable. And I think that that's what he's going to announce. It's going to be a newer technology. It's going to be an IPO, but it's all going to be based off of NFT transactions rather than standard transactions.
Interesting. JT, what's your take on that?
I think that's a really interesting theory. I haven't done as much research as you have into exactly what Gary Vee is going to be releasing on 5.5. I have been filling my MetaMask wallet with Ethereum, which, to Gore's point, is now at 29.71. It's hitting all-time highs.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a live reaction. I love that. Go ahead.
Yes. I do as well. I am invested in Ethereum, and I'm going to continue doing so. I like what's happening on the Ethereum network, and with Ethereum 2.0 coming up, it's going to be great. But I do like what you're saying, and I think that you might be onto something. He's definitely going to utilize NFTs in a way that people haven't done before. And part
it's
of
Gary Vee.
You're right. Right. And if it's like convertible shares, I think that's actually a brilliant concept.
It's a genius plan, isn't it?
If that's what he's
like
planning on doing.
Of your business.
And of course, I'm JT, you know way more about finances. I'm a photographer and a videographer, but it's that, I'm telling you, it's that being on high functioning on the spectrum mindset that once I grab a hold of something, it's really hard for me not to dig into every last detail and put the puzzle together. And that's really what I was looking at is his saying about inventing the new screwdriver, and then he was going to use it. And I think he wants to prove the point that he's right about NFTs, about their potential. And I think this would be a fantastic way for him to do that. And because he's sharing it with all of his followers, but is hesitant to say anything about it. Like, hey, on 5.5, I'm going to be releasing, say, because he's been doing his own artwork, my artwork, and you can buy it in an NFT form. So those are going to be my NFTs. There would be no problem with him announcing it. It's the fact that he's encouraging us to buy Ethereum, to set up a MetaMask, to get knowledgeable about NFTs and how they work, the knowledge-based strategy, and the fact that he can't say, it's super secret what he's doing. Of course, if it is an IPO, he can't say, hey, I'm going to launch an IPO based off of using NFT, because then he could get into trouble. But
the second everything.
Yeah. But like I said, I really believe that the two go together. He's all about legacy. I think it would leave a tremendous legacy for him to have a renewable energy source. I think it's something other than what he's normally done. But I mean, we saw him go from wine to
being underaged.
I mean, so he's done a lot of different things, and it would be a way for him to invent the new screwdriver, which would be the use of the NFTs. and then to use it for his own business transactions. And that's what led me to those. That's what led me to that. But if I hadn't seen that picture of him with the batteries, because I mean, my thing was great. I believe my comment on that tweet was great. You're going to invent the new CVS. I believe because that's where or Rite Aid or something like that. Because that's where he was at when he took that picture.
I see.
And then it clicked to me. Well, why is he posting a picture with him with batteries behind him, and saying that it was a clue for his 5.5 release?
There you go.
I don't know, guys. What do you think? Am I crazy or
JT? Please carry on.
Now, him posting with batteries, to your point, as far as like a storage of power, it could be a storage system, which NFTs are in a way a store of value. Now it's interesting, the water connection there. So I think you're piecing something together there that I wouldn't have put together myself. It's interesting. I'm going to have to dig in deeper myself to try and come up with my own theory. But in the meantime, I'm definitely going to be putting some ether into my MetaMask wallet to prepare for 5.5. Even if it is just artwork, I'd be happy to buy some of it just to hold on to it. And if it is convertible shares in something, I'll try and take a quick look at the company beforehand. But I mean, I'm sure whatever he releases is going to sell out pretty quickly. So you're going to want to be there early.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and there's other technology. Of course, it took me down the rabbit hole of storage technology and of renewable technology. There's so much going on in renewable technology that I wasn't even aware of, including gravity-based renewable energy, and that blew me away. I didn't even know people were doing that, and it was a great rabbit hole to go down.
Right.
And I would say maybe artwork, but it's his statements of I've spent my whole life for this moment. I've been driving my whole life for this moment. Makes me think it can't just be his artwork. It's got to be something huge. It's got to be something bigger than that.
That doesn't sound big enough.
Yeah,
No, it wouldn't be big enough.
Yeah, saying that my whole life has come to this moment could be the salesman
And
coming
the only
out.
thing he says that about jets. He doesn't say anything.
And it doesn't seem, and it doesn't seem like to me like the artwork would be big enough. And I know he's talked about buying the jets, and maybe it is the jets, but I don't see how a water pitcher, a shower head, and batteries as a clue leads you to think of jets. And he didn't have jets clothing on when he was posting them.
In my humble opinion, I would say saltwater battery plants. It somehow, I can't help myself but think of the Chernobyl. I grew up in Soviet Union and everything, so that was like right around there. So the reason I'm saying that is water surrounded around all that nuclear power plant, Chernobyl area in the Soviet Union area, because water was one of the main ways to cool down everything fast enough so it doesn't blow up. And the reason it blew up because of the water didn't cool it down fast enough. And I feel like could it be salt water helps to keep the batteries cool or something like that? I don't know. That's
actually the salt water is the medium to transfer the electrons.
Understood, which is going to replace the lithium ion.
Yes, and
Makes
just
sense.
like in your car battery, there's liquid in your car battery, but it's acid. Right, it's acid based, so you don't ever want to get that liquid on you because it'll burn you. I grew up super poor, so we did a lot of our own work on our cars, and there was lots of times.
You're a handyman. You're a handy person. Same with me.
So you've got that acid on your clothes.
I grew up in a farm, so you had to.
See?
I fixed my bicycles so many times growing up. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had one. So it's either fix it, have it, or you don't have one. But
so the water is actually the medium that transfers the electrons. There's also another one that, if I remember correctly, it's iron based, that uses a similar technology that is a water based battery technology. And the whole reason why it was driven was because if say you had the battery storage in your home, if you get a lithium ion battery, you're only going to have so many cycles before you're going to have to replace that battery, so it is not cost effective or renewable. And now you've got this. Yeah, and you've got this huge battery now that's going to go into a landfill somewhere. Whereas if you do a water-based battery, if something were to happen, it gets punctured, it gets damaged, it doesn't work anymore. There's the only thing that's toxic is the housing of that battery, which would be, I'm assuming, plastic. I haven't looked into the construction of the battery, but there's nothing toxic about it, and that's what's the big deal. And saltwater batteries, of course, because it's saltwater, it is a renewable source to make more and more. You don't have to worry about, well, I have this precious metal or rare metal that has to be mined. And in some third world country to produce this. And I'm excited about it. If this is what he's doing, I'm excited about it because having seen where the raw ingredients, the cobalt and such that goes into making the lithium ion batteries, I have a tremendous amount of guilt being in the technology that I am, because I've seen who has to mine that and the conditions that they mine it in, and it is terrible. And that's the balance that we have. I was watching a video, and the speaker in the video was saying, in order for someone to prosper, someone else has to suffer. And I start thinking about that, and I start thinking about the wealth that we have here in the United States. And a lot of our wealth and a lot of the things that we have, the conveniences that we have, are really based off of the
poor countries'
sweat
backs
and suffering of other people. So a water-based battery wouldn't need anyone to mine those raw materials any longer. It's way simpler to construct.
Elevate overall humanity livelihood.
Exactly. And then, of course, the environmental impact is way less because you don't have the landfills being filled up with toxic chemicals.
Right. And with the Biden administration, I'm noticing environmental programs and everything is becoming more and more priority, which I'm liking, honestly.
Yeah.
So they're putting a lot of importance on the environment, and they announced a lot of good stuff. Like which car was it? Volvo or Volvo? I think announced they're going. No, Cadillac. Cadillac announced they're going to stop making gasoline vehicles from 2035 and forward, I believe. So many companies are falling in line too here in America, which is really, really good. I have a question for both of you guys, and feel free to not answer if you don't.
I'm good with that one.
So is Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger.
That's right. I'm going to use that often now that I've seen it.
I know, right? I mean, come on, it's modeling success successfully. So question for you guys is, for our audience, I wanted to simplify, and to be honest with you, for me as well, I do have a understanding, but it doesn't hurt to get more. When you guys mentioned, I believe it was David, that Gary V has high hopes of having contracts to be part of utilization of cryptocurrencies and NFTs instead of just being a transactional value. If you guys could explain what it actually means, like doing contracts, putting contracts on blockchains or things like, what does that exactly mean, or what the process is like? Do you guys have any more info about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of what he's saying, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, but is other use cases for cryptocurrency and blockchain technology aside from actually just being a currency that you would spend for a product or service. So instead of spending the cryptocurrency, you would be able to utilize an NFT for a different purpose other than just a store of value, as an asset. It would you would be holding something that would actually have a purpose. And to David's point about what exactly that Gary V could be doing on 5/5, if it is convertible shares that are stored as NFTs, that's a way that you could. And if that's not what Gary V is doing, then then whatever. Someone else can do
Then
that.
you're
That's
very
someone
welcome
else
for
could
the
do that, and I
idea
think
then.
that that's a great idea. I think
Mhm.
that's a great concept, and someone else should, if it's not Gary Vee, and it very well could be based on the clues that he's been giving out, which,
Why not
which
us,
is
guys?
exciting if it is.
Yeah, and
Since we came up with the idea, why not us?
Why not
why
us?
not us?
Yeah.
If it's not Gary, then it should be us. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I remember Gary specifically speaking when he first started really on this NFT bandwagon was his vision, and he's just sitting there rattling off what he thinks you can do with NFTs, and why people should be excited about them. But being a media company right now,
Yep.
In many different forms. It was once things started to come out where you could attach different things to the NFT. I'm trying to think of the right vocabulary for it.
Let's say once you figure out a way to add value to the companies using NFTs.
Exactly. So because he was a media company, he was talking about music artists was the first thing that he talked about.
It's genius.
Music artists, ownership of their music. The contracts would be attached to the NFT, and it would be everything would be one product, so that way they could track the transactions. They could sell the contracts themselves, basically eliminating the middlemen in the music industry, and they become their own manager of their music. And then how JT was talking about when we were talking about the pirate and using torrent, and how people were actually pirating the movies and the music and downloading it. You wouldn't be able to do that anymore because it would all be tracked and chargeable. Every time somebody used it, you'd be able to charge them for that usage because it would be encapsulated within the data packet of information, your usage contract, your acceptance of terms, everything into one piece of information, rather than, well, I've got this file that's got music on it, and now I've got another digital file that has a contract on it, and then I've got to create a sales contract. It's all one file.
That's
it's
a great
all
explanation.
One ball of information that you have to use, and it would eliminate a lot of the instances where, like, say I have my photography, I have a landscape photo, right? At this point, I'm selling it on my website, but there's hundreds of thousands of instances where my photo might appear somewhere. There's actually another YouTube couple that she's a model and he's a photographer, and now she's a photographer as well. They were actually traveling overseas and went into a store, and one of his pictures that he took of his model wife that is on their website got downloaded and was now on packaging for some type of beauty care. And it was her face. And she walked in and went, oh my gosh, that's me. That's my face. Because there's no way really you can try doing copyright suits and you can ask people to pull stuff down. But because
does not
the
apply
file
if it's a different country.
Exactly. It's just that file. There's no writer in it. There's nothing encapsulated in it. Whereas
you just
an
hit
NFT,
multiple amazing points, David.
Yeah. Whereas with an NFT, now it's all the file is now the file with all that information, with all the contracts in, and you can track it as I own this, and now you're using it.
Yes.
What's
Exactly.
going on
And you're
this,
seeing artists put out albums as NFTs, and whenever you buy an NFT, what makes NFTs non-fungible is that they aren't completely identical and they don't have an equivalent value. So you're not able to trade an NFT for the exact same. For example, if you have nickels, this is an example that I gave in my NFT video. If you have nickels and you're giving this nickel, which has an inherent value of 5 cents, to someone else who has the same coin, and it's the same year. There are some differentiating factors between different years of nickels having different values, but you trade this nickel, which is worth 5 cents, to someone else with an identical nickel for 5 cents. That would be fungible. So artists that are putting out albums, to be able to actually utilize the blockchain as an album, they could put out fungible tokens, which the album is the same as someone else's album that they buy that's also saved as a token, as a digital album that they own. And I think that that's a great idea for artists to do. But then also in the background, also put out NFTs as albums where, the album has a unique cover, and you're seeing that happen. They get the album, but they also get with the album a picture of the band. So they have both of these things that they have from the NFT, and that's what makes it unique. That's what makes their purchase different from someone else's, another fan who bought the same album. So that's really interesting. It's a way, I think, for artists to be able to give something back to their community. Give each community member that wants to buy an NFT, their specific, unique little thing. So it's a way for artists to have that
personal connection, without
with their
middlemen.
audience. Exactly.
Makes total sense. And I was just taking it on a personal note. Like, for example, I watch a lot of MMA fights, UFC fights, and like, for example, the pay-per-view goes, you need to pay, and then you need to purchase it every event that happens. They can totally actually make that an NFT, where everything can happen through there, as the contracts can be done through there. That's amazing. Gentlemen, I have a last question for both of you guys, and the last question would be the following. Not tangible versus tangible. What do you guys think? Do you think majority of the problem, people not having trust in cryptos, has to do with not being tangible versus a dollar being so tangible? Even though dollar is tangible, it actually loses value, but people are okay with it, versus crypto is not tangible and it seems to be gaining value. What is your opinion on that? Do you think people are scared of the fact that crypto is not tangible, which is why there's the lack of trust?
Yes, I believe that that's part of it. For some people, they think that since it's intangible, it doesn't have, an actual. And I think part of it's also that a lot of people don't understand that the USD also doesn't really have anything backing its value. It's the sentiment of the people who are using the currency that gives that currency value. And that's the exact way that cryptocurrency is utilized as a currency as well, is because people want to either spend it or store it, and they see value in it. So really, something's true value is always going to be dictated by the consumer. And tangibility is important to a lot of people because they aren't able to visually represent what they are holding. I think as times move forward and we continue to move more into a digital age, to David's point earlier, people who grew up in this era of knowing what cryptocurrencies are and how they work, I think you're going to see a lot less people who are intimidated. Intimidated is not really it's kind of
shy away.
I would say they shy away from something because they feel like they don't understand that
lack of education. I agree.
Well, it's a lack of education, but I think that a lot of times it can make sense that they would feel that way too, because many people have been burnt out on things that they didn't actually have access to or to be able to see in person or in real life. For instance, you had several scams that people feel like this could just be one of those. I see all the time people saying that Bitcoin, Dogecoin, all of these cryptocurrencies are Ponzi schemes. And you've seen Ponzi schemes in cryptocurrency. I'll bring up BitConnect as an example, but in real life, as a real life example for many people who shy away from something because it's not tangible, you've had a lot of scams regarding buying travel shares and things like that. Shares to be able to, have this place that you're going to be able to stay at for every now and then in the year. And then it turns out that you bought a property that just doesn't exist. And it's because, they never actually went out and saw the property themselves. And they feel like doing that with cryptocurrency can be something very similar because
left a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because it's not tangible. And that's a story that many, many people are aware of and they've heard. And it's just, there are a lot of things like that have happened that leave people kind of, I would still use the term, skeptical to get
Mhm.
involved in cryptocurrency because it isn't tangible. But like I said, as time moves on, people are going to
Adapt.
be more aware and they're going to adapt. I mean, who's carrying cash? I mean, obviously you want to store some level of, paper cash just in case, anything
Liquid.
ever
Yeah.
happened. Liquidity, paper liquidity, you want to hold on to some of that hard paper. But I would say that most of people's wealth is stored online, and that's
Mhm.
not necessarily tangible. You can
Yes.
obviously go and pull it out if you'd like to, but it's all, on their online
In
bank
digital
account. It's
form.
in digital form already. It's just not stored in the blockchain currently.
Great point. Thank you, JT. Thank you. David, anything to add?
No, I agree with JT. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that there were no debit cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
so
weren't.
true.
And then we started with credits that were local credits, then credit cards through banks, debit cards. Then, because you're right, it's not an actual tangible dollar. It's very rare that you see people spending dollars. I do pop-ups. I don't know if you guys are familiar with pop-ups or if you have them in your area. And what they are is they're small local businesses that pop up a shop, and there'll be 30, 40. There's going to be one next week, and it's going to be like 80, 85 different vendors.
Pop-ups.
Yeah, small businesses. I love them because the people are so hardworking. And a lot of it is it's crafts and things that they provide that th've made, and I get excited for them. I go out. I've done my own. I've gone and take pictures with them, and I've taken photos of their products. But what I've noticed is, as you're walking along, the people that are the customers, the consumers, are mostly spending cash, but almost every one of those vendors takes Venmo, PayPal, Apple Pay. None of them have swipers anymore. And I don't remember if you guys remember the PayPal swipe, and you had to pass the card
The
through
square
it.
and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
They don't do that anymore. They've got their QR code. You scan it, you send me money, and you're good to go. So we're already stepping that way. That's all intangible funds that are being transferred back and forth. But ultimately, I would say, you know what? We're habitual. We're habitual creatures.
Yes, we are.
And it's just getting people to get in the habit. And I think once people are in the habit of dealing with cryptocurrency, and that's why I was saying the generational thing is, as you build the habit, the generations past that aren't in that habit, everybody else is comfortable with it. That becomes the habit, and that's the thing that we all do. But I definitely see a huge move, like I said, from growing up and as old as I am, from dollars. I remember my mom going and cashing my dad's check, and she held onto those dollars, right, in her fist. Those are my dollars for the week. And she paid everything cash. So from that to debit card, now PayPal, Venmo, Apple Pay, where you're just tap and go or you're scan and go. I think we're marching that way already. But yes, we're definitely habitual animals. And once we get that habit of using cryptocurrency, it'll be what we use. And a lot of people don't even realize, right now we're using a system, like I said, it's, the fiat currency, it really has no value. It's made up value. Everybody believes that the Fed is actually a federal institution, and it's not. It's privately owned. So we have this company. Right? Yeah, this company tells
amazes me.
The country,
I couldn't believe that was real.
Yeah, a privately owned and privately run company tells us about our money, and people believe that the Federal Reserve is actually part of the federal government.
Nope.
So
it's a privately owned company, and just like any business, it needs to make profit.
And that's why I was saying, I think that when it comes to cryptocurrency, I think the majority of people want to find the easiest path through the transaction. As business people, we know any hurdle you put in the path of them actually completing the sale is going to be a possibility of a no, or I don't want to do this sale after all. I think as cryptocurrency removes those hurdles from everyday people, then I think that it'll be more and more accepted. As it's more and more accepted, it'll become more and more habitual. And 20, 25 years from now or less, they'll be talking about the new thing. And are people going to accept it? And does it really have value? And it'll be, especially once AI takes off, then
And
we may not
5G.
even need cryptocurrency anymore, because our computer overlords will be providing all of our needs on a daily basis.
I like that, computer overlords. That is awesome, gentlemen. We had another amazing podcast. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys the time. Is there anything you guys want to say before we get offline? What actually, let me rephrase the question. David, please let our audience know where they can connect with you.
Sure. You can reach me on Instagram at David Senteno Photography. And also my YouTube channel is just David Senteno. The only place that I'm different is on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm Poppin' Fresh Pan 1. But if you search for David Senteno, you can find me there.
Beautiful. Same question to you, my friend JT. Please let us know where our viewers can get connected with you, please.
For sure. Yeah. If you guys want to get some of my content and try and get some more financial education from me, if you want to call it that, we really just have fun.
You're too
and
modest.
talk
You're a
about-
well of wisdom. You've got a lot to give to the world. I'm telling you.
Really, on my channel, we're just trying to have fun. We talk about stocks and beer and crypto, and I just try adult beverages and talk about finance. Nothing that I say should be taken as financial advice, by the way. If you guys are interested in investing in something, make sure to do your own research before investing, and I recommend only investing what you're willing to lose. With that being said, you can find me on Instagram at Investments and Refreshments. You can find me on YouTube at Investments and Refreshments. And if you guys like anything that I said today, feel free to go over to my YouTube channel, maybe subscribe, hit that notification bell icon to see my next video. Thank you guys so much. Thanks, Gore. Thank you,
Thank you,
David.
Gore.
I really enjoyed our conversation.
Of course, guys.
Yeah,
Of
it was
course.
exciting. Thanks so much.
Yes. And as everything move forward, there's new things coming up, and I'm sure we'll be doing this in the near future too. Hopefully, if you guys are all down. And David, I'm really excited about your possible Clubhouse project. So let us know about that. We would be glad to participate.
You bet. I've already created a theme for what I want to talk about. And each week will be a different topic, and I think we'll do it weekly. But I really want you guys there. I really enjoy having conversations with you guys.
Likewise. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't hit the like button, now it's a good time to smash that like button. Give it a big like and share it out. The more you share it out, the more people get to see it, and maybe we can help a person or two. So it takes you a second to share it, but it actually helps people a lot down the long run. And please, I apologize for the shakiness of the camera. maybe we need to get the internet on the blockchain so it can work a little smoother. Right? You never
That's
know.
right.
There you go. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. David, I appreciate your time again. JT, I appreciate you. You guys have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
so much, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.